this is Shelly from Hodgepodge Hoosiers. I'm going to get started on today's preparations for the supper this afternoon. And tonight we're going to have the copycat White Castle sliders and some of my home canned fries. And I'm going to make a dessert that my grandma always made. It was Kuchen is what she called it. German. It's German for cake. So I'm going to make how she made it. And I thought I'd bring you all along. So I'm going to turn you around, and first thing we got to do is get the meat mixture prepared for the sliders so they can be freezing. So I'm going to turn you around. Okay, so here is how I do it. I just put some oil in I line my baking sheet because it just helps with cleanup. And I put 1 pound of ground beef in here. We buy it in bulk, so I always portion it out. And you're gonna put a 1/2 cup of beef broth, beef stock in it. And I just sprinkle pepper all over it. It's probably about a 1/2 teaspoon. And I use pink Himalayan salt. And I probably put a teaspoon of salt in that. You mix it up. And then I'll take some minced onion. I just sprinkle some in it because we're going to be putting more in it later. Just want it to where it's going to stick together. You want it to stick. That's what that beef broth does. And then you'll put it in your pan. And you flatten it out. This is a recipe that can easily be doubled. You want to get it into a rectangle. Like that. Looks pretty good. Wash my hands. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to score it. So you already have them into patties. There will be some shrink to them. I'm going to make it into 12. Yeah. And then you're going to take a fork. Just want to put plenty of holes in each one. Now these are going to go into the freezer for at least an hour. And you want them froze, which it's probably going to be in there longer than an hour for me. And then I'll show you the next step when I bring them out. Okay, on to the Kuchen. We're going to put 1 cup of warm water in my stand mixer bowl, or if you're doing it by hand, it doesn't matter. 1 tablespoon of yeast. And then this is local honey I keep around for my allergies. If you take a tablespoon a day, it seems to help me. It's a tablespoon of honey. And then it's a tablespoon of any kind of oil. I'm using olive oil, and I always just guess. And a teaspoon of salt, which I'll use sea salt for this one. There. And then I'm gonna let that foam just a minute or two, and then we're gonna add the flour and get it mixed up. Okay, it's starting to foam up in there, so I know it's activating. I'm gonna put 3 cups of flour in it. Okay, and I'm gonna take it over to the stand mixer. And when it starts coming together, I'll show you what it looks like. I usually put it on, not the lowest setting, but the next one to get it mixed up. And when the gluten starts activating, coming together, it should form a ball. It'll start pulling away from the sides and forming a good dough ball. And I'll show you what that looks like. See, it's starting to come together good. I'm gonna let it knead for a couple of minutes. And then we'll be able to put it in the pan. Okay, we have our dough. Now you want a pan, a baking sheet that's got a lip to it, or at least I always do. It finds it easier for me to work with, but you want to get this all spread out into the pan here. It takes some elbow grease to get her done. Now, Mom would always make this, and if she had leftover bread dough, pie crust, or anything that would be the base, she would use to make this. This is just olive oil. Now, Grandma would do the same thing with her scraps, but she would make a dough like this so she could make a whole pan of it. My grandma was big on making breads and pastries. Seems like when I was little, every time I'd go to her house, she'd have something homemade sitting on her table for us to try. Okay, that's good enough. Now I make a little ridge on mine when I can, and you'll see why here in a few minutes. Okay, so next step is Mom would take sugar. This is a 1/4 cup scoop, and she would just lightly go over it. Half. I know it looks like a lot, but it does absorb in. All right. Now, then she would sprinkle cinnamon. And then she would take pats of butter. This is a half a stick of butter. There. Okay, then evaporated milk. This is what you kind of want those ridges for. And it's not going to stay in. It usually still runs out. Just kind of want it to get all mixed in. Get the whole top a little wet with that milk. There. So anyway, this is going to be put into a preheated oven of 425, and you just want it to, the edges to get brown, and it'll get bubbly. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. It probably will need to be in there 10 or 12 minutes probably. So I'll show you what it looks like when it gets done. Here's another little trick that I forgot to show you here real fast. If you put foil like in the corners, you'll keep them ridges up. It's not foolproof. You can see I've already got some dripping right there. You're not going to keep it all out. But anyway, that's how I keep it kind of all in the center. So I'll be back. Okay, it's done. I'm going to bring it over here and let you see it. It smells so good. All those puff pockets, all that butter and evaporated milk will all just sink down into it. And then I'll be able to cut it up into squares later. It'll be a nice dessert for later. All right, we're back with the slider patties. And they're good and froze. Let me see if I can't just do this. It might be easier. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I better not do that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, in this other pan, you put another half a cup of beef stock, beef broth in it. And then you're going to layer it pretty good with the minced onions. There. And then you're going to lay these patties on top. that. And you let it set for about 10 minutes, and then you put them in an oven, 425, I believe. If it's different, I'll have it on here. And it doesn't take very long at all because these patties are thin. And then whenever they get done out, you just put you a slice of cheese on it. And I'll show you what that looks like, and we'll be able to finish it up. All right, they're just out of the oven. I took them off the pan, put them on the plate. They still got to have cheese melted on them yet, and then we'll put a pickle. And we're going to use King's Hawaiian bread with them for the slider buns. We really like them with those, so I'll show you what they look like when they get done. Next up, we'll be getting my home canned fries ready for my oil. These do, the longer they set, they get the white starchy water in them. So I will put them in a colander, rinse them off really well. Let them drain for a little bit before I will put them in the hot oil. Just makes it better not having all that starch on them. Okay, the potatoes has been rinsed, and I'm just setting them on a bowl so they can drain out every little bit of liquid. I've got the oil on the stove getting hot, and then I'll be adding these once they get up to temperature. Then I'll show you when they're frying. Just added them into the hot oil. One thing with canned French fries, they're delicate because they have been mostly cooked. So I'll leave these alone now, and they'll start to float when they start getting done, and then you can start turning them because they kind of get that crispy skin on them then to where they won't break. But right now you just want to leave them alone and let them cook. And like I said, when they start floating to the top, that's when you know you can start stirring them. And then they'll be, when they get golden brown, you take them out. Okay. You see they're starting to float. So it won't be long. They'll be done. But now they've firmed up enough that you can turn them. And here we have supper. Finished. Looks yummy. I hope you liked this video. This is Shelly from Hodgepodge Hoosiers. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.